Welcome to the Fox Robbins Business Show. Great to have you back. We've got an excellent show this evening because we have for you a real live entrepreneur, and you're gonna find this very interesting. This show is all about developing your best business ideas, and this show seeks, among other things, to encourage entrepreneurship out there in in New England and in Southeast Massachusetts. And I am the host of the show, Bill Fox. The co-host is Cliff Robbins. Cliff had a sudden, unexpected change in schedule, and he won't be on this episode, but don't panic. The Coach Robbins will be back with Cliff Notes and other good ideas on the next episode when we're going to talk about human relations and that aspect of the business. But tonight, we want to get right into the show with our entrepreneur. His name is Bill Bennett. He's president of Wheel Watchers Inc. Wheel Watchers Inc.
Wheel Watcher Inc. Yes.
Okay, and let me tell you briefly about Bill. He was a ninth child. That must have been a struggle. Were you?
The first 8 were experimental.
Yeah. Bill also had seen a bad accident about 3 years ago. It was with a bus in Boston, and the accident was probably caused by texting or driver distraction.
Yes, very much so. I saw the accident happen from a bus. And you know how when you're in the bus, you can see right down into people's cars.
Oh, yes.
And on this particular day, it was like 3 years ago, this fellow was texting while he was driving. Oh. And I thought it was rather odd that he could do both at the same time. And I just, in general, had a bad feeling about it. And sure enough, I saw the brake lights marching back his way. And he never looked up, and the traffic had stopped in front of him. Bang! The accident happened right next to my window. And it's funny, I don't think anybody else on the bus saw the accident. I was sort of in the back of the bus, and I was in the HOV lane. But the accident had a big effect on me because I could see more and more people were using these small portable devices and having to pay more attention to them, like texting a message and typing and trying to remember how to spell certain words. And it's one thing if you're sitting at home on the couch doing that. It's a whole different thing when you're driving 70 miles an hour and not watching where you're going.
But why would that be a concern to you? Because you're a commercial fisherman.
True.
And you had to figure out where the fish are and bring them home. What actually happened to you? I mean, why did you get interested in this driver distraction?
Well, I saw it as a problem that was going to only get bigger and bigger. I wanted to try to find I tried to solve the problem if I could, and if I could find some way to prevent it from becoming as bad as I thought it would become. So that's one part of the answer. The other part of the answer is that commercial fishing is so regulated now. I'm sort of your typical Cape Cod boy who went fishing and then found that it was tough to make the bills. So I was looking for another avenue for income, just to support my family. And I saw this problem and I thought, wow, if I could just make a solution, I could A, maybe save people's lives, and B, maybe I could make some money at the same time.
Right, with the fishing industry has been squeezed by regulation.
Collapsed.
And it's the impact on the ability of fishermen to make a living has been
you're so restricted.
Really, restricted. That's a polite way of putting it.
Yeah, they have days at sea now. You only have a certain amount of days you can go. They have black boxes on the boat to track you everywhere you go. So if you go into an area that's closed, they just send you a big fine in the mail now. They don't have to send the Coast Guard after you. They can pretty much tell that you're in violation by satellite.
Oh yeah, I see. Anyway, so you were looking, for another business opportunity, but you'd thought about this accident that you'd seen.
I did, yeah.
And you did, and in fact, you did come up with an idea to maybe attack that driver distraction situation.
Yes.
Matter of fact, what we might do, just for a second, you provided us, with a video clip.
Yes.
Of the product that you're developing.
Right. The Wheel Watcher.
As part of the Wheel Watcher.
Yes, sir.
So let's take a quick look at that, please.
Go.
Hello, my name is Bill Bennett. I want to talk to you a minute about a big problem on the roads today. The problem is distracted driving. You know, when people are texting while they're driving and holding a cell phone or playing with the iPod and just in general not keeping their mind on the road. So I've developed a new thing that I'd like to introduce you to. It's called the Wheel Watcher. And what this does is it's just a steering wheel cover, but it has wires on the sides. Has sensors on the left side and sensors on the right side, and not on the top and not on the bottom. So we'll put this on the steering wheel and take a ride down the road, and I'll show you exactly how this thing works. Thank you.
Fine.
Okay, so here we have the Wheel Watcher on the steering wheel. Now this device has a mechanism which turns it on over 30 miles an hour and shuts it off under 30 miles an hour. The driver doesn't have the option of turning it off. So once you're over 30 miles an hour, if you want to take your hand off the steering wheel and do basic functions like change the heat or turn the music up or down or take a sip off your coffee, you can do those, but you've only got 7 seconds to do those things. And if you take longer than that, it's going to make an alarm sound. So let's try to make a cell phone call. I'm going to try to call my friend Roy, who lives in Boston. So his number's 161. So there's the alarm. And the way you shut the alarm off is you return the hand to the steering wheel. And this just promotes driving with two hands more often. If you've got two hands on the wheel, your mind's on the road. And that's it.
Okay, well that gives the audience a pretty good idea of what this product is.
Yeah.
It is to prevent people from being distracted from their number one duty, which is to pay attention to the driving.
Yeah, I noticed that people have got really sloppy in their driving habits in general. A lot of people drive with one hand or maybe with one thumb, and a lot of people have become complacent drivers, and I sort of fall into that same category myself. I've never been in an accident, and that sort of gives me the false reasoning that I'm not going to be in one. But the fact of the matter is, if you're doing 60 or 70 miles an hour, fractions of a second count. Yeah. If you have one hand on the steering wheel, by the time you get the second hand up there, it's too late. So my device helps you to keep two hands on the steering wheel. It prevents you from doing other things that you shouldn't be doing while driving. You can't eat while you're driving. You can't hold a cell phone while driving. You can't text while driving. Pretty much the idea of the Wheel Watcher is to get you where you're going, and then you can, text like crazy.
Yeah. So you decided to start it, but you decided to start a business, based on this product, yes?
Yes, I did.
And how long ago was that? I mean, you saw this accident that stuck in your mind. That was about 3 years ago. But when did you decide to really, I'm going to start a business? When did that idea come?
Well, only about a year ago. I'd say I've been involved in this for about 3 years, but really I spent a year, I should say I wasted a year, trying to develop electronic circuitry that would do what I wanted it to do. And for me, being a commercial fisherman, I didn't know anything about electronics. And it was a long learning process and painful. And I found that I could fry electronic components easily, but I couldn't get them to do what I wanted to do. But there are people who are in that business who know how to put those things together. So I did waste some time that way the first year. But the biggest step I made...
But that was an important discovery, and that other people who want to start a business should know.
Yes.
Don't necessarily get distracted by details that that aren't necessary to running the business. I mean, organizing the business to get started and running that business becomes very important and should be your focus.
Exactly.
i.e. finding money to run the business, and who's going to be involved, and how are you going to develop it? You're going to manufacture the product yourself, or you're going to put it out, to a license? Who's going to put it into the marketplace? You got a lot of business and very serious business concerns.
Right.
And soldering the circuit board was not one of them.
Shouldn't have been.
No, but that's okay. But
yeah.
I mean, you found that you discovered that.
The biggest step I made in starting this corporation and getting this thing underway was I had an appointment with Dr. Cliff Robbins, who's not here tonight, but in a way I'm kind of glad he's not here because I want to let everybody know how much help Dr. Robbins has been for me. And I wouldn't want to embarrass him if he was here. But I had a 10-minute meeting with
Well,
him.
he'd give you a half hour to stop.
He would. But I had a very brief meeting with him at the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. And in that meeting, so many things have come from it. It's less than a year after that meeting. I now have a product, I have a prototype, I have a patent, I have a corporation, and I have some business partners, and things are really starting to happen for it. And it all stems from that first meeting with Dr. Robbins, who, by the way, works for the state. So I've been very lucky in that the state offers an awful lot to people like myself.
But the issue you were bringing to me is to say to other people who are becoming entrepreneurs, go and get some advice.
Right, and don't give up.
Don't live in a cocoon. Don't hang out in your basement. Get out there and meet people and seek advice. And it's out there. People do want to help.
It is. I was messing around on the computer one day when I found the MSBDC, Mass Small Business Development Council, and I just sort of fell across them by accident playing around on the computer one rainy day. And really what's offered through the state, it's unbelievable. Once you get involved in it and you find out what the state will do for you, they bend over backwards for you, and they have.
So seeking advice is important, and everyone should know that, and get out there and meet. And the local chambers of commerce, they're out there.
Right.
They're an obvious one. They're in every phone book, and they're anxious to help because they want to justify their business. I mean, they want to. Chambers of commerce want to develop a belief that they are really out there to help business, and so they're anxious to help.
They are. The Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce sponsored a contest here a few months back. It's called Entrepreneurs Weekend. It's the second annual one they had. I read about it in the Cape Cod Times on a Tuesday, and on a Friday, I found myself in a room full of 100 people who eventually joined teams. They formed small groups, and we were presenting to some judges a business plan, and we ended up winning the competition. It was a $5,000 first prize. We won it, and that has really opened some doors for me, and it all stems from the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce.
Speaking of which, that's a good point because we have a little video clip of you at the Entrepreneurs Weekend, and so let's pause for a minute and take a quick look at that.
Good.
Okay, that was you at the Entrepreneurs. Well, that Entrepreneurs Weekend, the one that you went to was number 2.
Yes.
The first one was a year ago in 2009, and they thought it was successful, and had the second one this March that you attended and others. And you didn't know people before you went. I mean, you went to this the organizing meeting on a Friday, and there were just a room full of people, as you said.
Yes.
And you did pick someone you thought would be helpful. And by the way, all the people who show up are ultimately divided up into teams.
Yes.
And so you had a team that was based on Wheel Watchers Inc.
Yes, a small team. There were only 3 of us.
And you picked, it was you and three other people.
2 others.
2 others and yourself.
Yes, Wendy Thompson from Cape Cod Public Relations and John Sedevy from Analytica. Those were my 2 partners, and they filled in a lot of blanks that I didn't know how to fill in. They knew how to write a business plan. They knew how to manipulate financials, and they knew how to present the Wheel Watcher to some judges, and we won. The judges were there. This was a contest. It wasn't like real life bankers, but the judges were the real thing. They were Wall Street types. They were executive types. They were donating their time for this contest.
Yeah, that's true.
In other words, you couldn't fool them. You really had to give them good answers.
But it was pretty amazing that you had to prepare a business plan.
Yes.
And a PowerPoint presentation to go with it, and talk to the panel of judges. On Sunday morning, you had to do the business plan Saturday, and finish it off Sunday morning and then make your presentation.
It was a whirlwind.
That's a 60-mile-an-hour view, man.
You
know.
meet Friday night, you spend maybe 4 or 5 hours together. Saturday, you meet from 8 o'clock in the morning. They bring food in for you. We were there till 11 o'clock Saturday night. Sunday morning, you give your presentation and it's over. They announce the winners. So it was very condensed, it was very intense. But it was very educational, and there were several mentors there to help you. And we got a great deal of advice from, people in the industry, people who were volunteering their time, people who were just interested to help out. Dr. Robbins helped on my presentation and several others. And it was a great experience, it really was.
Well, that was good. Now listen, the thing about it, it's one of the interesting business problems that always intrigues me. You're starting this business. Yours, in your case, it's a physical product. Other people can start a business with a service, so-called, or a combination of product and service or whatever. Yours is a product-oriented idea.
Yes.
That has to get made. It's a thing.
Right.
Now, you can, first thing, for a person like you, are you going to make it? Or are you going to get somebody else to make it? Because licensing is a possibility and very common. In fact, we had a Fox Robbins show, talking about licensing process. But you got that split in the road, fork in the road.
Yes.
Am I going to make? Or am I going to get somebody else to make it? How did you deal with that?
Well, initially I thought a licensing agreement would be the best arrangement for me because I don't know anything about running a factory and having a lot of employees, shipping, advertising. So with a licensing agreement, that's where you would find someone to take on the project. They would make it, they would advertise it, they would distribute it. They'd do it all, and they'd send you a check for 5 or 6%
royalty
of the royalty of a
yeah,
royalty.
right,
Yes.
right.
Now, initially, that was the road I wanted to take. After the Entrepreneurs Weekend, I fell in with some people who did know how to run factories and did know